What I'm holding in my hand right here, most of you can't see that because it's so small. This is a little, it's the top to an acorn. It's the cap that goes on an acorn. Yeah, pardon? Yeah?
It looks like a little beret.
A little beret. The cap. Yeah. All right. Yeah, okay. So my original intention was to come out here with an actual acorn to start the talk with. But as I went to look for an acorn in the forest behind our house, which, by the way, has lots of oak trees, I could only find the tops. I could only find the caps. I'll give you one reason why. Yeah, the 20 million squirrels that live back there, they have already hidden them away, taken them, eaten them, whatever. So we have to be content with a picture of an acorn. We're looking at the picture of an acorn. We can all use our imaginations, right? So, okay, picture, there it is, an acorn. It's a beautiful thing, but, kind of small. We don't really think twice about it, kind of insignificant looking. We certainly don't look at it and say, wow, that's miraculous. But indeed, it is miraculous, because inside the acorn, inside all acorns, there exists a magnificent oak tree. Now, we can't see it, but of course, all of the genetic factors for becoming a magnificent oak tree are coded in the acorn. They're already coded in the acorn. And if left undisturbed, it will actually take root in about 20 years in this fertile soil in North Carolina, become a magnificent oak tree. But again, it doesn't look like much here. Just in the same way, the trees out here, we can't see the blossoms and all of the leaves that are hidden inside the trees. In fact, they kind of look dead. But we know in 2 or 3 months that those blossoms and those millions of leaves are just going to come, just going to explode out. These trees will be resplendent with millions of leaves. All of this is an affirmation of the intention of the universe. The intention of the universe is to blossom, to come to fruition, to realize its potential. Right? This is what it is. This is every time you see a flower blossom or a fruit-bearing tree bear fruit, or an acorn transform into a giant oak tree, or a human sperm and an egg come together and create a human being, it's proof of the intentionality of the universe. The universe intends for life to flourish, for all of life to flourish. So how does the human experience of frustration and failure and unhappiness and dreams unrealized, how does that fit in? How could you ever be excluded from that divine design, that original intentionality of the universe to flourish? You can't. You can't be separate. You can't be excluded. We're all part of the universe. Anyone here not part of the universe? You are all part of the universe. So it is it's the intention of the universe to flourish through you, for that magnificence that you are coded for, that you're genetically coded for, to be realized, for that innate inner divine vision to be manifest. That is absolutely the intention of the universe. Anytime we think that we're excluded from it, anytime we say, well, I've never been lucky, or I'm not like other people, or, I came from a dysfunctional family, or, I've always been at a disadvantage, or I'm too old, or the opportunities have passed me by. Whenever we do that, even subconsciously, it's like we've given all our acorns to the squirrels. Here, take them. Here, take them. No, it is the intention of the universe for you to flourish, for us all to flourish. That's the intention of the universe. So, now that you know that, there are no excuses, right? Well, obviously, there is something that gets in our way, us human beings, otherwise we'd all be living our dreams. Otherwise we would all be living in a love-filled, peaceful paradise. But that doesn't seem to be our experience. So something gets in our way. Something thwarts that divine design. There's some metaphorical squirrel that keeps taking our acorns. What is that? What is that? Well, it can be a variety of different things depending upon, the type of person, different things. But one of the big things that for most of us human beings is that thing that thwarts that natural divine design, that intentionality of the universe to flourish. There is one kind of big thing. And that's what I want to talk about today. And I'd like to use the analogy that I heard Marianne Williamson talk about in the late 80s when I was kind of studying with her in Los Angeles. And I actually heard her again recently, and she was saying the same thing. She was giving the same analogy. So, enduring analogy. So what she says is this, in essence. It's like we're all lamps. All of us are like lamps. You turn a lamp on, it lights up. You turn it off, it goes dark. But the thing is, a lamp can't power itself. A lamp can't do it, can't illuminate on its own. What's the power source for a lamp? Electricity, yeah. It needs to be plugged into the electricity, into the main current. And then it can illuminate, it does its thing, it does what it's designed to do. You could say it expresses its potential. And the same is true for us. So what is our power source? Spirit. God. Spirit, divine intelligence, love intelligence, whatever we want to call it. That's our power source. When we really don't work very well on our own. In order to function optimally, we need to be plugged into that source energy, to be connected with that source energy, and then when we're illuminated. We can flourish. We can do what we are designed to do. We can realize our potential. Right? When we're plugged in. It's when we try to function on our own, from our own ego self, that we get into trouble. That things kind of mess up. That natural flow gets stuck. That we can't even see that divine vision for our lives. Anytime we think, well, thank you, God, but I got it from here. I'll take it from here. I'll take it from here. Even that, mostly that's subconscious. We do that subconsciously. Anytime we do that, though, we're disconnecting from our power source. So we need to reconnect on a daily basis. Reconnect with that power source. And how do we do that? Meditation, centering prayer, any kind of spiritual practice where we get quiet enough and we can connect in. And then we connect in, and we're plugged into that main power source, and we illuminate, and we can realize that magnificence that we are coded for. This is the big secret to living your vision. This is the big secret. And most people, don't know that, but now you do. So, who also knew, we are definitely celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday this weekend. He knew, right? Wasn't he one of the best examples of somebody who was connected with source energy? Yes, he illuminated, he brought light to a very dark time in our life, in the country's history. Brought a vision. Not his own vision, mind you, not his ego self-vision, but that higher vision, that divine vision for a different experience in this country, for the experience of true equality and brotherly love and truly the experience of respect for all human beings. That vision that he had, that he saw, despite what it looked like. It looked 180 degrees different from that vision. That's mountaintop consciousness. Definitely mountaintop consciousness, or another way we would say that is viewing it from the level of the absolute. Viewing it from the level of the absolute. Because he listened, he connected, he listened. He listened to that voice within, he saw that vision. And that was the thing that carried him through and inspired so many others, too, to come together and help to realize that vision. That vision that really wanted to be birthed into this country at that time. That vision. So, are we connecting in? Are we listening? Are you listening? Are you listening to that divine wisdom, that seeing that vision for what wants to be birthed through you into your life and into the world that can maybe make a positive impact in the world? Listening in. Now, fortunately, now there's this kind of strategy or a tool, you could say, for connecting with and listening to that vision, catching that vision. And that's called the visioning process. And that was sort of articulated best by, I think, Reverend Michael Beckwith. And we here at Unity Center of Peace have gotten real familiar with that. Last year, we were blessed by having a wonderful person who was trained in that process guide us through for 9 months. And wasn't that the most fruitful thing that we've ever done here? Truly amazing, this process. So this process of visioning, and Beckwith says, this is how he defines visioning, as an intuitive process for opening and sensitizing consciousness to receive Spirit's vision for one's life. Sensitizing consciousness, that intuitive process. So rather than explain this process, how about we have a little experience, a little mini experience of it? We can't do the full thing because it really does take a hunk of time, but we can have like a little taste of it. So, if you'd like to do that, then I invite you to think of some area of your life that you'd like to see flourish. Is there an area of your life that you'd like to see flourish? And I see you already closing your eyes. You're already getting into that place. You're already breathing, going, you're so well trained. So go into that place that we were a few moments ago in meditation. Just reconnect with that center of the divine within us, our heart center, that place where we are the embodiment of Spirit, how Spirit is expressing the fullness of what it is through and as us. And open to that love, that incredible love that the divine has for you. Just open and allow yourself to just bask in that love. Spirit loves us so much. So much more than we could ever realize. Just open to that love. Open to being loved. Breathe in that love. And then from that place, you want to ask that intuitive wisdom within you. What is your vision for this area of my life? What is your vision for this area of my life? Try not to judge what you're hearing. It could be one word, maybe it doesn't make sense. It could be complete sentences. It could be images. It could be a full picture. Just be open. And then ask Spirit, what does this look like, feel like, and sound like? What does it look like, feel like, and sound like? The next question you're going to ask Spirit is, what do I need to release or let go of in order to have this vision? What do I need to let go of, release, in order to have this? Listen. Big one sometimes. The next question is, what is my growing edge? Or how must I grow? Or what qualities must I embody to be in alignment with that highest vision? What qualities must I embody to be in alignment with that highest vision? So that in essence is the process. And when you're doing this at home, and by the way, in your handout there are the steps for this process that you can sort of really give yourself more time for. And when you do this at home, you want to keep a pad of paper and a pen to write on to write what came to you during this process. And if anything came to you in this little mini process, go ahead and write that down on the back of that handout. It's a blank, should be a blank page there in your bulletin. If any ideas, any answers from any of those came to you, then go ahead and write that down. So we want to just keep listening. Keep listening. Keep turning within and connecting and listening. And listening to what is ours to do. What is mine to do? And then when you hear that, what is mine to do? Do it. Follow through. Yes. Follow through. Do it. Have the courage to move into action in the world on purpose. Again, that is another way that was so beautifully demonstrated by Martin Luther King. You know, that courage that he had to step into action despite, being crushed by the powers that be, despite death threats. He had the courage to move into action. He must have been scared. There must have been times when he was full of doubt. Probably moments where he thought, I just want to go home and, be with my family. There were probably moments. But he kept at the forefront of his mind that vision, that dream. That dream. He kept it at the forefront of his mind. And he took the action that absolutely, completely changed everything for all of us. Absolutely, completely changed. That courage. And so his vision and that courage that he had gave strength to others. It gave strength to others so that they were willing to join him in this effort, because, you can't do this on your own. So many others were involved in this movement. That vision and that courage that was embodied so beautifully in him inspired so many others. Big change, big positive change in the world happens one day at a time, one step at a time. And it's fueled by source energy. It must be fueled by source energy. Whenever we think, whenever we feel like we got to do this on our own, whenever we feel like overwhelmed, or it's too scary to move forward, or the obstacles are so enormous, and I'm talking to myself. I had a week where the obstacles just seemed so large, I just give up. Just give up, But those are the moments that we need to remember that we don't do it on our own. It is the Spirit within that doeth the works. It's the Spirit within. Don't let those obstacles and that fear that disconnects, that we're disconnecting with Source. We're disconnecting from Source energy. Reconnect. Turn back in. That's what I had to remind myself of this week. Turn back in. Remember the vision. Reconnect with the vision. Remember who gave you the vision. And remember what it is that fuels you, that lives and moves and breathes and does it through you. Remember that. And that, when we get that and we stay connected with that, that's when other people show up and help us. It's like a magic thing. When we get really clear and really connected with that vision, other people start showing up and helping, and suddenly a way is made clear. There's an avenue. And we want to welcome that. We want to welcome being surrounded by positive, life-affirming individuals who, are themselves not stopped by fear. And take advantage of the spiritual support that you have here in your spiritual community. All of that is how we create the avenues through which that vision manifests. And how that magnificence that we're coded for finds a way to begin to grow in our lives. That's the big secret. Now, there are other things that sort of work together in this whole picture. That I gave you the overall vision. Other things that work together. Obviously, I don't have time to talk about them all today. But the good news is I'm actually doing a telecall, a webinar this week, and on this very topic. So you're all invited to join in. It's totally free. You just register for the call and join us Thursday at 8 o'clock. And if you're interested, the address is on the bottom of that handout there. And I'll have a little more time to be talking about all the other aspects that kind of go into it and work together in there. But you've got the big picture here. And so remember that. In the meantime, just stay connected. Keep connecting in every day. Keep practice that spiritual practice to connect in, to open up, to listen to that vision. Try that visioning exercise. Really give yourself a nice hunk of time to do that visioning exercise. And you'll be amazed at what happens when you do that. Our community has been completely transformed from this process. It takes a while. It takes doing it a few times through. But it can just absolutely transform. So, yeah, that's it. Namaste.